Okay, seems like we are on air. Okay, welcome everybody. Question and answers session. We are so excited about this. We received a number of questions through Reddit, Twitter, and IRC. And also during the session, you can post your own questions on the right-hand side of the video in YouTube. You should see a chat. So you can post your questions there, and we will try to catch up later. So let's start introducing ourselves. So Ari, you want to start?
Hi everyone, I'm Ari, also known as Asterite, we say, in GitHub and Twitter and everywhere.
You're the green apple.
I'm the green apple with a sword. Originally, it was fighting a slice of pizza. I don't know. That's it. Thanks, Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm basically, my avatar is my face on GitHub and Twitter. At Bicardic, you can find me there on GitHub and Twitter. And I'm happy to be here with all you guys.
Okay, and I'm Juan. My GitHub user is Wah, W-A-J, and my avatar is the tux inside the apple. So, okay, let's get started. So, you want to start reading the questions we have so far?
Okay, so let's start with the first one. It's from Lamont and also Serdar Dorgriol asked it. It's, so what about that Windows support, or what would it take to add Windows support? So, do you want?
We started with a tricky one.
Yeah,
Yes.
First of all, it will be really nice to have Windows support.
Yes.
There are a lot of users on Windows platform. From our own history, we used to develop on Windows, but then we moved away a little bit, and now we have apples everywhere. So that's kind of put a challenge for us to invest effort nowadays on Windows support, but it will be really something good to have, for sure.
Yes.
There used to be some progress. I mean, some of the community members sent already some work in progress about making a Windows version of Crystal. Nothing that can be used on production still, but the thing is, there are so many differences between Unix system and a Windows system, right? So there are many pieces that should be rewritten in order to support Windows, like exception handling or the
ABA.
Fevers,
and what else? All the I/O and
yes, the APIs. I think they use like UTF-16 instead of UTF-8 in some places. So
the time.
a lot of differences. I also started to play with Windows, but it's a lot of effort.
So there is a amount of work to be done in order to support Windows. And the truth is, as Brian said, none of us use Windows. We don't use Windows for our daily use, and neither for servers. So we don't have motivation to support Windows. But we know many of the community members would like to see a Windows version. So eventually there will be a Windows version. We don't know when. And of course, pull requests and patches are truly accepted.
Yeah, it's a really good area to have a good impact on Crystal. So if anybody outside wants to do it, it would be awesome. I imagine like running Crystal on Azure so on the future.
Also, I think it's important to mention that we are still trying to have a solid foundation in the language, right? Like some of the syntax and semantics are still changing, right? And in order to make that evolve, it doesn't matter if we run on Unix or Windows or wherever, right? So making that and at the same time supporting many platforms looks like a an extra work that is impossible to do, right?
Yeah, but we always have the goal in mind to have a really good implementation. So it's not about only syntax and semantics. It's also about representation in the memory for efficiency operations. And but yeah, so there are things still changing, and there are many things to tackle at the same time. But for example, like what was 2 days ago? No, or it was today. But the Alpine support came as a contribution from outside. So the same will happen for Windows. Yeah, so that's pretty much.
Another challenge is CI for running automated tests in Windows. That's another challenge, I think. So we need to make sure that it continues working after we make changes. So next question from Football. What are that's the name. What are the plans for concurrency support? And another one similar related from Gray Blake is multi-threading support. I guess this is one of the most wanted features. Would be cool to get some news updates on it.
Well, first of all, concurrency. Crystal already supports concurrency, right?
Yes.
And it has great concurrency. We tested, and well, Serdar tested also, handling many concurrent HTTP sessions on a single box, right? So we should make a difference between concurrency and parallelism, right? It's not the same. So concurrency is already there. We can use it. So regarding parallelism and more specifically adding multi-threading support to Crystal, well, the good thing is that some progress has been done already, right? There is a branch in the repository, and also I have some work already done on my machine, adding support for multiple threads. So there are many challenges there, like making the GC play nice with the fibers and content switches and everything. Also, what else? Making all the I/O, for example, to play nice with threads as well. And there are many design questions like how do we run the network scheduler or the network poller? I mean, or things like that. There are many things that have to be decided, right? But we already have some progress towards support of multiple threads. And the way we envision Crystal running on multiple threads is very similar to Go or Erlang languages, right? Where you don't care much about underlying threads. But eventually, we might add some other lower level support in which you can create your own threads and schedule specific fibers to those threads and things like that. So that's the current status. Mostly, it's intentions.
Yeah, one of the questions that just came in was, when will native threads be added?
Well,
Like Jonathan, yeah, this. So just.
Yes, related to that, well, you mentioned the GC, and it's really tricky to make multiple thread support because the GC, we are using Boehm GC, and it's not like we need to figure out which functions to call to make it work, because sometimes there are some functions that we don't have, so we have to make changes to the GC, and then we think, well, maybe we should write our own GC, so it will be easier, but then it will take more time. So
eventually, we're probably going to replace the GC with our own GC.
Yes, but it's far from simple to just add multiple thread support. But
probably not before 1.0.
No.
Okay.
But it will be shorter because it will be written in Crystal.
Maybe.
Yes.
Probably not in C.
Next question. Any interest from Miss Rida? Any interest in getting rid of the GC? Crystal seems cool, but for my users, high-performance communication software, it is essential that performance is 100% predictable, which means that any language with GC is not really an option. So again, Juan, I think you have a good answer to this.
Well, I would like to see, or I would like to hear more about the specific use that this person is willing to use Crystal for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, high performance communication software. Erlang and Go already are targeted for writing high performance communication software, and both have GC, right? So garbage collector shouldn't be an obstacle to make something that is that performs well, right? So if we say we want to use Crystal for embedded systems or real-time systems, so maybe that's a different question.
Yeah, that's a different story. But well, for embedded, nowadays the cell phone has much more memory than our computer used to have some years ago.
Yes.
So for some embedded systems, it's okay to have a GC because the iPhone runs with a GC.
So again, maybe the current GC is not the best thing for writing high performance software, but eventually, if we replace the GC with something much more
with another
faster,
GC.
with the slower pauses, right?
Yeah.
So that maybe that will be better than removing the GC at all. From
removing the GC is what you will use instead of that, like manually the allocation of memory. You will have to go the whole language, change the whole library. You can turn it on or off for a project. It's the whole ecosystem need to embrace what you want.
But it's not only your software, right? It's also the standard libraries.
Yeah. For example, that's what I mean with the whole ecosystem. It's like I see that the C aspects, the C things that Crystal have, Crystal and C share some things, but the most different thing is the manually memory management. So I think sometimes the C lovers are forced to ask this question for sure, and it's a good one. But I don't know. I don't see getting rid of the GC.
And I don't think making the GC optional is really a choice for this. If you think languages that don't have a GC, let's say Swift, Swift relies on automatic reference counting, but you also have specific keywords to deal with cycles and things like that. So it's not just a switch that you can turn on and off, right?
Yes, another language is Rust that has lifetimes, but that will change the language a lot, and we don't want to change it that much. But however, one thing that we do in the standard library and encourage in its design is to avoid unnecessary memory allocations. So, and we plan to write some guides for performance optimizations or tips, so you can apply that too in your own projects or libraries.
Yeah, but basically one of the most things that you have point out on implementation that the community sent is that don't use class, use struct for some immutable things because they are allocated in the stack instead of the heap. So you gain a lot of improvements in the performance there.
Yes.
But yeah, there will be other suggestions for sure.
And that's also the thing that you can manually allocate memory, like you can call malloc and do whatever you want with that memory. So maybe if you have a performance critical path that allocates a lot of memory, you can rewrite it in some way that manages automatically, not automatically, manually managed memory. But it will be tricky, but it's possible. But that's it.
You were. And we have the free also.
Free? Well, you can link it from libc, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, GC free exists already, but all it does is giving back the memory to the garbage collector. So you're still using the garbage collector, right? But it's not like malloc and free from C library.
But you can use it if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. from Gray Blake. Incremental compilation. According to the December's blog post, I guess the core also cool to get some news updates about this. And also Jonathan Wills asks, when will an incremental compiler be added? So we started working on a compiler rewrite, but it's on a repository on Bitbucket. We can open source it. That's no problem.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Yes, it's a lot of work to do. So
sorry, because it was also about polishing all the phases on the compiler. It's not only about the semantic, but only about like a whole refactor to be easily to jump in and add features to the compiler. Yes,
we wanted to split the compiler. Like previously, there was just one pass through all the code, or maybe two, and we wanted to split it in a phase that declares the types and then processes type annotations and so on. And eventually, we realized that the compiler rewrite was going to take a lot of time. So we decided maybe it's better to introduce these features or these changes in the current compiler.
Because we were trying to do many things at the same time. It was not just a compiler rewrite.
Yes.
We wanted to rewrite because we wanted, as you say, to make it easier for someone else to jump into the core development. Also, to introduce new features, right? Or change drastically change some of the semantics of some
like
bits of the language. And what else? Also to introduce incremental compilation, right?
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, I think, to make the compiler super efficient and suitable for large projects, which right now we fear that that's not the case. So we want to make the necessary changes before one.
So what we want now as the next little step for the compiler, that's I think that the answer.
So we will be introducing these changes in the current compiler. Eventually,
these changes that will allow the incremental compilation.
Yes, exactly.
Next.
And we want to get them before 1.0, and then eventually later in the future, if we have time and we want, we can introduce this incremental compiler with all the optimizations, because the language will be suitable for that. So that's basically it. So the rewrite of the compiler was halted right now.
It's not that we are doing the middle step. So when introducing the incremental compilation, there are not language changes.
Exactly.
That's the goal. So we are stepping up, and we also introduced. Well, you introduced also some of the phases for declaring the types. And some months ago,
now there are many more phases.
And that fixed a lot of bugs at the same time.
Yes.
So it's just splitting the tasks. That's why there is not about a branch of new compiler, because we are introducing that intermediate steps along the way. But so this feature will be interesting, and the incremental compiler will be after 1.0, before 1.0.
Incremental compilation probably after 1.0. The idea is to at some point freeze the semantics and the syntax. So later we can introduce optimizations and add more code to the standard library, but always maintaining backwards compatibility, so that the community can finally start growing for real.
So to recap, we are currently introducing some of the ideas that originally were targeted for the new compiler. We decided to introduce those changes in the current compiler, right? Like, for example,
doing a pass to declare all types, which fixed a lot of bugs. Then we want to make type annotations in instance variables mandatory, which sounds drastical, but it's not. And that didn't arrive yet, but there's a pass that processes them. It's just we need to add those for modules and generic types and have them work correctly. The next step would be to have them be mandatory. For that, we can write a tool that automatically puts types in your existing code. So the upgrade should be really easy. And Yeah, from that point, I think we can start working on the optimizations. Like the algorithm for type inference becomes much easier like that. There's still, of course, type inference. It's not like you have type annotations in type variables and type inference is not needed anymore.
For incremental computation, it's needed to have a clear scope, a frame of what you can assume outside.
Analyze one method. Once you're done with that, you can remove all that memory used. And
basically, because otherwise you need the whole source at the same time in memory binding together to see what will happen on certain operations.
Okay.
Next question. It's this one from Gray Blake. How do we shape the community? Which principles are good practices? Which principles and good practices do we help? I personally would like to avoid the situation that currently took place in Ruby community. People do not develop good extensible libraries because they always can monkey patch. I guess we should encourage a good library design.
Well, I must say that I do not agree completely with this. I'm not sure about the bad quality of Ruby gems. I mean, many of the Ruby gems have very good design, if not most of them. But I think it's hard to design good practices, especially for a new language. I think good practices come with the usage of the language. So after some time, probably people can say, these are the good practices and these are the bad practices for the language.
Yes, I also don't find Ruby libraries to be badly designed, or I think generally it's like you define a module, and inside that module you define your types, and that's it. There's no clash, and you don't need to. Maybe you sometimes need to monkey patch things, but maybe there's a bug and you can't wait, so you monkey patch it. But I don't think monkey patching is the design we use every day for fixing stuff or doing stuff. Next question from Jonathan Wills. Ever consider making function literals pretty like Scala? Same goes for returning functions, etc. I'd be your biggest fan. So when we read that question, we didn't know how function literals in Scala were.
I don't know Scala, so
me neither.
You tell me.
But I looked at it, and it's not very different. Maybe just curly braces are missing. And what we were discussing with Juan and Brian is that we try to keep the good things from Ruby, or the syntax that we like from Ruby, and Ruby already has function literals, so we use that, and it's working great. And
yeah, so of course, Crystal adds or even removes some of the syntax that comes from Ruby, and in top of that, we added things. But if something is already in Ruby, we probably want to inherit that from that.
Yeah, and also it's difficult to just inject an isolated change on the syntax on a language, because there are a lot of parts that merge together to have a good syntax. Ruby is pretty mature in syntax. It has a really good use case for DSLs and general programming, and we feel comfortable with that. There are some tasted single quotes, double quotes, or they are not so important, I think. But this is each time you want to change the syntax, you need to analyze how impacting in the whole language. Today we were discussing about the tuple syntax, and you discover some edge cases with functions and so on. So it's kind of hard to what happened with the fat arrow and the hashes, for example. That the fat arrow was the function literal in Scala, I think. So you need to analyze a lot of things.
Yes, there's also the thing that in Crystal, as in Ruby, you use blocks a lot, and particularly in Crystal, you don't use function literals that much. Maybe you use blocks that are turned into procs, and for that you declare the type in the method, and then you use a block. So that syntax is really convenient. You don't specify the types in the arguments, and it looks like a block. So I think that's the nice literal.
So it's actually better to make function literals to look similar to blocks.
Yes.
Because the usage of those two things sometimes get mixed up.
Yes.
So
yeah. I remember when I first start using a lot of blocks and in Ruby, and they say, hey, function literals, yeah, let's pass. I want to go with 2 functions. No, you usually don't do that.
Exactly.
And there wasn't a nice syntax to pass 2 functions. And we struggle today with that with Haml or in different part of the languages in Ruby, and it doesn't appear so much.
Yes,
it's like those are the kind of language the signs that blends nice in the syntax. I don't know. It's, for example, on Haskell, you have this when you change the state, you usually put it on one side of the function, so they blend nice with the do syntax, and you have some simulation of the state. So those kind of things need to be analyzed and see how it feels in the language.
So my question to Jonathan will be: is there anything from Scala syntax for function literals that gives something else that we cannot have in Crystal with the current syntax? Is there anything inside the syntax that is not currently present in Crystal?
Next question, controversial one, from Mark Michel. I love the language, but don't like the name. Will you consider to change it? So I don't know why we chose. I think
I like the name.
I like the name. Crystal, I see it like. Well, the
and we already have stickers, so we can change it.
It's too late. Crystal is like Ruby is a crystal. Then you have Perl. There are many like languages that are crystal. We wanted crystal
that rocks.
Yeah, to encompass all of those. And then if we change it, maybe someone else doesn't like it. So it's really hard. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what name.
And we also go on registering Crystal on GitHub as a language name, the domain, all the brew and the package. It was a long way.
I think it's just a minor detail. Maybe it complicates searches a bit, but then you have Go, you have.
Yeah. Personally, there are many things I actually do like about the name. Like, well, it is short, so you execute the Crystal compiler. So that's one requirement.
Yeah.
Right? And another one, the CR extension was free.
Oh,
was
yeah,
available.
that's true.
That's
I don't know. At the end, I think this is the name. The choice of the name is really personal, and
I like that it has an R as in Ruby and a C as in C.
That's a good detail.
we can come up with some acronym someday using those letters.
And there are some libraries that like use CR in their name. I don't remember one.
Krakoa.
But Krakoa, I don't know. But it's fine.
Yeah.
So next question. Another controversial one. From Serdar Droguriol. What's your predicted date of release for 1.0? So we don't know.
I'm not good with predictions.
Me neither.
No, we are software developers. We
don't estimate.
No, but we wish. We have wishes, desires.
Yes, in my mind it's like maybe 1 or 2 years. Juan, you said maybe 1 or 10 years.
In some base.
Yes, in some base.
I said 2.
Yes, I don't know. I think it depends on what we want for 1.0, right? Like, what I want is a stable syntax and semantic, like the core language. And from there we can grow maintaining backwards compatibility. We could even maybe after 1.0 introduce multiple threads, but I don't know, because maybe that will change. Maybe you will need to program in a different way once we introduce multiple threads, so it will break a lot of code if we do that after 1.0. Yes, and I don't know.
I think I would like to see the package system a bit more mature with releases and tags,
right,
and come with those ideas we have discussed about.
Well, but that can come after 1.0.
Yeah, it can.
Right, it doesn't affect the language. Like if we improve shards later, or better said, if Julian improves it because he's the one working a lot, then we won't break.
Yeah, for sure. It's just
in shards.
It was a wish. I would really like to have like tagging version of gems. Shards. Sorry.
It's okay.
That
gems,
still
shards. Yeah, so
it will happen.
We can call them gems.
In order to estimate release date for 1.0, first we should say what's the roadmap for 1.0, right?
We have a roadmap.
We have a roadmap, but it's flexible, right? Maybe
it's
that's
like
a problem.
We change it all the time.
We change it, we add more things. Like we don't remove things from the roadmap, but we add, so that's a problem.
Yeah, but it's a nice way for any newcomers that want to contribute to the on the direction of the one node to check the roadmap and see, okay, they're interested in this kind of thing, so let's develop some stuff around. There is a lot of information around that, so that's something.
Yes, the good thing is that the language is usable. You can use it. You don't have to wait for 1.0. It's even better because you will be maybe finding bugs or finding things to improve in the standard library. So that will help us move faster towards 1.0. Yep. Next question, again from Serdar Drogriol. Are you interested in any company sponsorship, partnership? And of course,
well, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most certainly.
Yeah, for sure, the company has some kind of sponsorship on the background, but we also like all the community that is actually
definitely make things go faster. We will be able to work more on this to improve things. So the answer is yes.
Maybe it's worth to make it clear for the people that is listening right now. Our time developing Crystal is limited, right? Because we have to pay
the bills,
our bills and our beers, right? So if someone can help us with the funding as well, we already have the bounty source funding. It helps a lot. Thank you, everybody. But it's not enough.
Yes.
Right? And so if there is some company out there that realizes about the promising future of Crystal and wants to contribute in a different way one way to contribute is
write code,
write
documentation,
find bugs,
give us money.
Exactly. So that's definitely it's another way to contribute to the project. If you see there is a future in Crystal and you want to use Crystal someday, and you want us to work
harder and better.
Yeah,
more time. Yeah,
dedicate more time.
Or maybe you are already using Crystal and maybe find something is slow, or maybe something can be improved, but you don't want to contribute that back with code. So that's an option.
Yes. You can check that here at Minas, the kind of project that we do, and the amount of people that we work together, and the effort we invest in every of our project. Most of them are open source. So you can see how our efforts are distributed among different projects, and Crystal has our hearts, like check that.
Yes.
So we want to program, and we try to do even more hour after at midnight.
Yeah.
Always at midnight.
Next question from Alexander Popov. Will there be more significant differences from Ruby, such as only double quote strings, includes instead of include, tuple?
Well, I think there are many more differences already, right? I think besides syntax and some of the philosophy from Ruby, I think we can stay all night enumerating differences between Ruby and Crystal. I mean,
yeah, let's make one round. Generics.
Yes. Okay. Tuples.
That was there.
Okay.
You're cheating.
So GSub doesn't support back references. No,
They do.
It does now. I don't know.
Well,
you can't send.
You can what?
You can send.
Send. Or
Send method. The send method.
Oh, yeah.
Send method.
You cannot evaluate code at runtime, yes. And also the I/O is quite different from the I/O in Ruby.
Yeah, I think the idea is mainly to maintain like the feeling that you have when you program in Ruby, that there's not a lot of bureaucracy, maybe developer happiness, yes, or maybe readable syntax.
It was never the intention to make another Ruby. It was never the intention to make
a common
Crystal able to compile even a subset of Ruby. That's right. Yeah. So if I have a code in Ruby, it's probably going to be easier to convert to Crystal than if I have the code in Python. But you still have to make a lot of changes in the source code, right? So
yeah, sometimes when I port code from Ruby to Crystal, I don't start by pasting the code and then maybe adding type annotations or changing some things like that.
No, it doesn't feel right.
No, it's a lot of effort, and sometimes it's a mess. What I prefer to do is take like the main idea behind the code and then port that to Crystal. Sometimes you end up with less code, sometimes you end up with more code, but maybe faster, or sometimes you think, well, maybe in Ruby this is allocating too much memory or stuff like that.
In some cases, I think there's something that is appearing sometimes. There is a Crystal way of doing things, right? That not necessarily matches the Ruby way.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can, or you can maybe, but you don't want to copy and paste code. You want to rephrase it.
Yes.
In some other way.
Yeah, I remember that happened, for example, when we start discussing how routing should have been done on Crystal, since all the Kamal and the other framework that does routing.
You mean
routing from the string to a method?
HTTP request routing.
Yeah, yes. Those, or just string basic routing. How type safety can be done instead of compiling. So yeah, there is definitely a crystal way of doing, and we are discovering that. And when we reach some top barrier, we analyze the language, and some of the extension that we have been doing came from those kind of discussion and thinking how we would like to solve that problem.
Yes, the good thing is that we work on the compiler, so when we find something that we don't like or we feel, well, maybe this should be easier to do or shorter, and there's not a language feature for that, sometimes we say, okay, we can live with that, with what we have, because maybe a feature doesn't feel right just because I need this. And sometimes we say, okay, yes, we can think of what's the general solution for this or what's good, and then we add it. And sometimes that's not in Ruby. We say we are a different language. We can do that. So
questions keep coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Seems like we're going to stay all night long here.
A next question from Luis Lavena. Are you planning to accept or endorse bounties, like bounty source, for developers to build features? So I think that's like you open an issue, or there's an issue, and some company puts money on that, and some developer takes
So
it.
bounty source has this thing that not only us can get the money, we can also give back some of the money to someone to implement a specific feature.
So it's getting paid to program in Crystal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, I don't know, maybe.
But I think it's not that we necessarily put the money for the developer to do the work. Maybe a company decides to invest money, and then another developer. So for me, it sounds good. I don't know. It can, maybe sometimes we don't have time to fix some bugs or to add some features. So of course we will have to review that code later.
Of course, we can do that. I mean, I think we can do that with a specific medium-sized features, right? So we probably wouldn't put individual bug fixes or small things, but maybe if we need to, I don't know, some piece of the standard library is missing, maybe we can add a bounty there, right?
Sure.
We can think about it. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, maybe we can add maybe you can open an issue on GitHub and we can discuss this. And
yeah, how we should organize. But nowadays the bounty source have reached the first level of.
Oh yes, I have to send a letter for all of you that put money in bounty source. We reached the first goal, so it's amazing. Really, thank you so much for this.
Yeah, but so that goal, although is the first one, is pretty little. So it's the thing that we give most to Crystal is our time. It's not our money.
Yeah.
The first goal cover us like less than a day per week, right?
It's 1 day, one developer, like 8 hours 1 day per week. But we are 3 or maybe.
So we are still investing more time than that.
Yeah.
So
so that's a tough thing to split that money and give it away for sure. But it's not a stopping issue, but it will help if the bounty source is getting bigger for sure. And so there's no.
But I mean, we started doing Crystal for free without any funds, and we probably keep doing.
Yeah.
Probably at a smaller pace, right? And so I think we have to think about a specific feature that we want to give to someone else to write.
Windows support.
In that case. Oh, well, Windows support could be, I don't know.
Yeah.
We can think about it.
Yes,
I mean, it's not that definite answer, but
yeah, for sure.
Next question from Jonathan Willis. Why not implement Crystal to the llvm? Great ecosystem, great speed, and cross-platform. So, I don't know the answer. I think
we like native code.
We like native code. I also like Java, particularly. I like it has a great GC, that the optimizer is really good. I think
I personally worked many years on Java.
Me too.
And I like it. I mean, not as much as I like it Ruby or Crystal, but yeah, definitely it's a great ecosystem. That's for sure.
But also there are a lot of story about the binary representation of the types and how the method dispatch is done, and that effort are the one that gives Crystal the performance.
Yes, well, you can have, for example, you have now JRuby, and I think they're working on JRuby, Truffle, Graal, something like that, that gives, it makes Ruby on the llvm really fast. And that's basically Crystal, except that Crystal is also type safe. So if we had Crystal running on the llvm, it will be also fast, probably, and type safe. But we will need to think on how to interoperate with existing Java code. And I think that's maybe the biggest issue to do that, right? We need to think of ways to interoperate, maybe. And then a different backend.
I think also that there is already many other languages that target JVM.
Yes,
like the new Kotlin.
Kotlin, yeah.
Kotlin is really another beautiful language that targets JVM. So for me, the question would be, why to make yet another language targeting JVM? I mean, I love the fact that Crystal compiles to a native binary. I like to write command line tools, for example, that starts immediately, and also it is true that JVM is really fast and it's really efficient. I mean, there's many years of work put on making the JVM more efficient every day, and that's undeniable. Still, I think it's possible to write code that uses less resources or use resources more efficiently if you write it on directly as a native code. I know this kind of statement open large discussions, but yeah.
What will happen if we compile the LL code to JVM?
I think, in fact, there's a project.
Yeah, I was searching it.
No, there's another one that starts with S. I was
whatever. I was putting all the pieces around. Let's convert the LVM that we have without caring about the Java, and just to see how they can run the samples directory, how they perform on JVM.
Well, how you all interface with the operating system. Yeah. It's not just compiling and try. I mean,
you have all the C.
Yes.
It could be an experiment.
Yes, I downloaded one of the tools. I don't know, it's a recent one that lets you run JRuby, Graal, and all that mixture to interpret LLVM code. So you could compile a C code to LLVM and then interpret that on the JVM. As far as if I understood correctly.
So it's basically the same story.
So I tried generating LLVM code from Crystal and then interpreting it, but it crashed. But of course it crashed because there's interfaces with the GC and native code, so it's not as simple as just dumping the LLVM and running it. Next question, but we already answered that. Elapsed time ETA on compiler rewrite. That will probably happen after 1.0, so it's mostly an optimization to the compiler. Another question, Christian Molina. It would be a good idea to list the parts that are Unix specific and not working on Windows. Sure, to help to bootstrap the compiler on Windows. So it's, I don't know if all or most of the C calls that we are doing need to change or not?
Yeah, most of this system calls.
Okay, system calls.
That includes
time,
I/O,
Yes.
No, the
threading,
exception handling. Then.
Well, exception handling is more tricky. Yeah, also. Yeah, and even the fiber context switching that right now is written in assembler. It requires a little bit of small changes to be able to run in Windows as well.
But I think apart from that, it's that. But the problem is
that we don't know.
No, the problem is that those things are not trivial to do. So they take a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Yeah, there was some of the stories around in the GitHub issue about Windows port. Basically, if you search Windows, it will appear one or two issues with this information. But we can try to make a summary later.
The people that was working on Windows support, they were asking if they should target what's the name of this
MinGW?
Yes, and there is another one. Yes, so you either have to target one of those, if you don't want to target Windows API directly, right? In the long term, I would like to see Crystal targeting native Windows API instead of relying on an intermediate library.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? But maybe using one of those is a easier way to start.
Yes, and then we can directly do that on Windows.
Sure.
So next question. Do you guys from Serdar Dobruyol? Sorry if I don't say your name well.
Question, but
Which one?
Yeah, the 21.
No, this one. Oh, I skipped. Oh, sorry, I skipped a question from Jonathan Willis. Where would I get started if I wanted to help commit to the Crystal language? Well, you can go to the main repository. It's now on github.com crystal-lang/crystal. And
there is a getting started documentation.
Yes, contributing.md.
Yeah, that's the way how to contribute. But then you have the roadmap if you want to contribute towards 1.0. But as I like to say, whatever you like most about programming, there is a good chance that there is not present in Crystal, in the Crystal community. So search if what you want to do is available, or if not, create either in the standard library or of a super shard. And that's a great way to contribute, I think.
Yes, exactly. Like libraries help a lot. It's not like you can only help like in the compiler or standard library. In fact, maybe it's even more important. Libraries like that. That's what makes Ruby so nice to use.
Yeah.
You need something, you search it, you find it, you use it.
So the language alone is not enough. You need an entire ecosystem that it is growing every day, and it makes it possible to write real programs in Crystal right now, but still a lot of missing pieces.
Yeah, but we definitely like each time a contributor makes a pull request for the parser, Ari jumps in joy. It's like, hey, someone is changing the parser, you be.
Yes.
But there are other things that are not exactly programming that help us. Like there are a lot of contribution around documentations. The documentation page get a nice updates some times ago, and they are really nice.
Yes.
And yeah, so documentation is also a good source of contribution.
Definitely.
So most of the time, people find ways to contribute after they try to use the language on a real project, or maybe it's a pet project, right? Because you don't want to replace your old software. But once they start using Crystal, they realize that there are some missing standard libraries, or there is missing documentation, because sometimes they ask for things that are already in the standard library, but it's not documented. So and they send documentation, and that's really helpful.
Yes, for example, I was solving a little programming challenge that involved bit array. So you had a lot of lights, and you had to toggle them, and I needed to toggle lights in a range, but we don't have that in bit array yet. So even doing like programming challenges like that, you can find missing pieces and contribute. You just send one pull request to bit array to
I submit a bit
that to slice. So if you use a language, you will find ways to contribute. Next question from Serdar. Do you guys at Manas use Crystal in your projects?
So, some of them,
yeah.
We have some projects in Crystal. I mean, we didn't write any project for our customers, or
kind of.
Really?
Yeah, I remember that the performance issues around one of the projects. I rewrite part of the API in Crystal to get some performance boost, and it was really nice. But well, deploying that to the customer production servers was a little bit tricky, but it was a nice experiment. So, but then we use it for our own tools.
Yeah,
Yes.
so for our tools, yeah, definitely we have many internal tools written in Crystal. I mean, we have to start somewhere using the language, and of course, we cannot use it from day zero for our customers.
Yeah, otherwise there will be a astonishing web framework with database access, and
No.
there's not right now the status.
No, but I think the main problem with using Crystal for our customer is that if there's a problem, instead of fixing the issue the customer has, we maybe had to fix issues in the language, and that will take a lot of time.
It's like, yeah, I
But
want to
for
solve
our
our
own
problem,
uses,
but we need a new language for that.
if it's a product of our own, even if we sell it or not, we can take care of that. But if not, it's maybe tricky. But we have a tool for our own purposes, and it's like it connects to Google and a lot of different software, and it's working great.
Yep.
Next question from Doc.
Sorry.
Yes.
Our builds are built on Crystal.
Yes. So administrative tools or
yes.
Yes. So we use that. I forgot because I use
so
it.
every time we
Submit a bill.
yes,
It's something generated
there's
from
a Crystal process
product.
there.
And we have a Slack bot that we talk to it, and it's written in Crystal. We talk with it. It's working great. Another question from Doug Everly. Is anyone using Crystal in production?
Yes.
Yes.
They sent me the story the other.
That's, I don't remember, but yes.
There is something, and it's not us.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes. If
I
you
remember
search Crystal
someone-
production,
Someone
Incremental.
someone who was using Crystal for processing Kafka events, Apache Kafka events, and I remember that there was a tweet about that. That's
Yes.
great because I mean that's the perfect scenario for Crystal, right? Processing maybe small pieces of information that they come as million per second. So
yes.
that's a very interesting scenario.
Yes, and if any of you is using Crystal in production, ping us and tell us. It's always really nice to know like success story or maybe bad stories that we can fix. So everything is welcome. So we have a final question, unless you ask another one, from Karan Drossen. Could Crystal be able to freeze a variable, effectively making it a constant for a while?
So it's constant, but not always.
I think it's maybe a const annotation and a variable, like, or maybe let in other languages.
Yeah.
I think this is similar to asking for immutable variables.
Yes.
Maybe.
I think we could do it. I personally don't find it like it's a personal opinion, but if I have a variable and I mark it as const, why not just not assign to it? I think that the time where I made a mistake assigning to a variable, like a local variable that I didn't want to modify, it's pretty
So
rare.
I think
I
this
don't know.
it's definitely not for performance.
Yes.
Because the llvm already takes care of variables that do not change, right? So it's really smart. So it wouldn't make any difference if we mark the variables as constant, right?
In the scenario that you don't try to change it.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, if you try to change it, oh yes, exactly.
if you have a variable that you set only once, then llvm is pretty smart, and it will not like load from memory that the value twice, things like that. And maybe it covers some of the scenarios where the compiler can help you find the bugs before they come in production.
Yes.
That's
yes,
one
maybe,
of the reasons.
Maybe aid in readability or understanding the code, like this variable I know doesn't change, so maybe the guy who wrote this knows.
There's another reason to have constant variables, which is defining literals, like array literals.
Yes.
because we are writing a binary executable, we could have some constants in the data section of the file. So in order to take advantage of that, we will require to have immutable variables, like immutable arrays somehow.
Yes, but I think maybe if we just have, well, you could extend that to other types, but just constant arrays or constant static arrays that we have.
Well,
that would be a good improvement.
That what you just said, it's only for arrays. If you want to have support for any type.
Yeah, and that needs to be propagated arrays of what?
Yes, I think it's challenging to define the semantic if you have a constant variable of, like, I don't know, a person that has children. Are the children also constant? And
yeah,
if you take a reference of that, what happens?
Yeah,
it's pretty challenging.
So there are different scenarios. Being able to store things in the data section is for sure something appealing that I would like to see. But for example, if at some point, if the story was about performance, if you just doesn't change it, there won't be performance. So that nothing needs to be done. But then the other scenario is, you remember that freeze methods on Ruby objects?
Yes.
And that's like theoretical method, but I don't know if almost nobody uses it.
No, I think they use it. Yes, like for example, you define a constant with a string, you mark it as freeze, so you don't concatenate to
on
it
strings,
or arrays.
but what happened on any kind of object? It will be safe to, what will happen if I have an instance and I make it as freeze? So no instance variable can be changed.
I think that happens. I think. I don't know. I never use freeze
because
that much.
maybe the question was around that story. Like I have an object, I want to pass it around and be sure that nobody changed it. But those kind of things, either it needs to affect the type system, like if it's a real changeable person or a read-only person, so it needs to be designed a bit more in order to have a compile time errors. Otherwise, it will be just runtime errors.
Yes. Well, one thing you can do is create a wrapper, maybe around a type, as a struct, and maybe with method missing or providing some method, you create a wrapper so it's kind of an immutable view of an object, and it doesn't have any performance penalty because it's struct. So you can do that. But
that's a good way of workaround to see if that feature is useful in real programs, and if that patterns emerge a lot, well, it will be suitable for the language itself. Otherwise, a struct read-only wrapper seems a nice way to solve this free subject.
And there's also the thing that we always try to balance how easy it is to use the language and to keep the number of features low, so you don't have to know a lot of things. Because maybe if we add const or some way to do that, even if you don't want to use it, you will see it in someone else's code, and then you have to learn it. So eventually you have to learn all the features in the language. So it's better if we keep that number of features low.
Yeah.
Do you want to read it now? From Christian Molina. Is there any functional language feature you would like to add?
This question comes all the time, right?
Yeah, so maybe we would need to know what
are your personal feelings about it?
So I would need to know what features that a functional language has. Maybe it depends. No, maybe it depends on which language. I don't know, immutability, everything.
Partial evaluation.
Pureness in functions. What?
Partial evaluation, laziness. That's a whole story.
So I think it's the same story all the time. Functional languages have functional features for logical reasons. If we want to make a language that is, Crystal is not functional, right?
It's as many object-oriented programming, it feels like functional in certain snippets.
Yes, you have map, you have reduce, some bits of functionals, functional languages you see, but.
So the question before introducing a new feature is, what is that you currently cannot do with the language that you need a new feature? Instead of just saying, oh, this feature is cool, I want to
theoretical or equivalent, but it's about how much bureaucracy you need to do that. For example, if you compare Prolog, they have the backtracking system embedded. I remember trying to do an experiment, see if Crystal can be extended with a bunch of macros. It's macro things. I like it a lot. Or a thing with pattern matching in any kind of script.
Well, we recently introduced matching variables. It's not pattern matching, but you can test the value of two variables against
decomposing,
or two or more. And
but eventually that
it's not pattern matching, but it's
eventually could evolve into a more similar pattern matching that you can find in functional languages, right?
Yes, we try to go with small deltas that are like feel at home with the syntax and not.
Yeah, there is no specific goal of functional programming. I would think that we want to put it right now.
No.
We have written things in different programming languages. More of them object-oriented, some functional, almost non-logical programming. Sorry, Prolog. But as patterns are emerged that we would like to see, or they're useful for a lot of scenarios, we could see how to add it.
Also, I think just to close this this topic, and I think this topic is very interesting. In Erlang, for example, you really need pattern matching because you don't have classes, right? So if you want to define overloads and overloads, so you need the pattern matching to distinguish between different data types, right? So I could say Crystal doesn't need that because we have proper types, and we have well, not proper. I mean, there are types anyway, but
you can create your own types, maybe.
Yeah, you have classes, right? And you use type restrictions in the method to match against the arguments. So you don't need the pattern matching in the arguments,
right?
For that. So,
or maybe if you do need that, it's not that common to maybe deserve a language feature. You can always do it in a different way.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll say that one is one of the features that you like most of Crystal.
Which one?
The one that you just pointed out about
method overloading.
With pattern matching. I don't know. I was thinking about which is the feature that we like most of the language.
That's a question.
That's a question that just.
I didn't see it in the chat. Sorry.
No, it's not there.
You have to ask it there.
I think each of us could answer with a different. With different feature.
I'll go last. I don't know which one is mine.
You know my answer. I mean.
Really?
Yeah, you
which
know.
One is it?
Fibers.
Fibers. Oh yes, and concurrency and all of that.
And you should know mine also.
Macros.
Kind of. Now the type system. Now the type
system.
Yeah, I like the thing with the union types. And the no returns and how they blend, for example, to like the not nil method is built right in the language, and there is nothing.
That's true.
It's like really neat how that is done. So maybe people that in the other side doesn't know exactly the details, but it's like awesome. Being playing around with different
you should write a blog post.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have included some exercise at the college about Crystal, so it's already in the college like exercises. I should also write a blog about which is the something that I really like most.
Okay.
Yeah. So as for me, I don't know. Maybe the performance, llvm, and it can do crazy stuff that we are always amazed at that. It's Crystal uses llvm. I like llvm, so. That's it.
Sure. So I think we can answer one more question before closing.
Yes. So the last question is, do you guys plan to do these sessions monthly? It would be awesome.
This is a perfect question to close, actually.
Yes.
Thank you, Serdar.
Yes. So, of course, I mean,
nothing prevents us from.
I hope there's someone
on the other side.
listening to us.
Yes.
If it's not, it was good to chat anyway. But yeah, definitely. If this, I mean, I would love to make also more interactive sessions, like
Yes.
invite some of our biggest contributors to talk with us, and so we can exchange ideas and
Yes.
know them also.
yeah, sure.
Sure, yeah.
See their faces.
Yeah, because
Yes.
actually, like how Crystal is done here in a daily basis, we usually like come around and start asking questions around sharing ideas about the language, and we like start working on what we are working and start working a little bit on Crystal to solve something. And being here in the office is like this conversation is how things have been done for the past years.
Yes, maybe we can, the feature sessions, we can maybe focus on some details, like let's talk about I/O or something like that, so we can, because all of these questions are now answered. I don't know what other questions there will be, but sure, we can do it.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so I guess that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. We definitely enjoyed it. Yes, it was really nice to know your questions, and we can continue this on our IRC or GitHub. You can ask. So
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, see you around on the.
Thank you for joining
On the internet.
Sure. Yeah. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Next time.